Hello everybody. So today I want to make a quick update on MicroStrategy. I am on the road, so quick video today. I'm assuming a lot of people are traveling right now. The volumes are down on the market. Very few people are buying stocks. The markets are boring. The volumes are low, and I would say MicroStrategy is holding up pretty well when you put everything into perspective. If you look at the chart of MicroStrategy and the chart of Bitcoin, the correlation is uncanny. It's essentially Bitcoin on steroid. I am not annoyed by this price action whatsoever. Of course, I'm not a trader. I don't look at the charts, I look at the valuation. And when I look at the valuation of MicroStrategy as far as price to NAV, which has kind of become the main metric for me, for a lot of people looking at this stock, it's a 1.91. It's just about as cheap as I've seen it. I guess I've seen it a little cheaper a week back when it was at 1.84. But it's about as cheap as I've seen it, and we'll see if this stock keeps acquiring Bitcoin. We'll see if they acquire on Monday. Maybe they do. It seems like they were tapping some of ATM. Maybe they do, but maybe not that much. Anyways, the point is 1.91x price to NAV is what we're paying for MicroStrategy right now. I want to point out too that I find Mara stock, which is a Bitcoin miner that has added a convertible debt strategy, added an issuance of debt strategy to buy Bitcoin strategy. I want to point out they are cheaper at a 1.48. We're below 1.5 NAV, at least in my calculation on Mara. And I'm quite interested in adding Mara at these levels. And as you know, I put all of my alerts on the Patreon, but Mara is looking juicier. I added to Mara a while back. I think this is also interesting given that Mara is following a MicroStrategy playbook. It's following a very similar strategy to MicroStrategy. The point of this video, really quick, I don't have a lot of time, but the point of the video is that the Bitcoin Bond ETF is coming, and this was something that the community has been expecting. I've been expecting it. The Bitcoin ETF is coming. We know someone linked to the new administration. I think it's Vivek Ramaswamy who's owning or involved with that firm. They're releasing this Strive Bitcoin ETF. The goal of this ETF is going to be to seek exposure to Bitcoin-backed bonds, specifically convertible bonds by MicroStrategy, but they also say in the prospectus that they'll look at converts issued by Bitcoin firms that have Bitcoin exposure. You issue the debt, you raise the funds, you buy the Bitcoin. You issue debt to buy Bitcoin. You short the fiat, you long the Bitcoin. That is the strategy. It's a whole new strategy when it comes to bonds. Usually you issue bond to go do some risky thing, like acquire another firm, like invest in a new product, invest in a new plant, invest in marketing. This is not what they're doing. They're issuing debt, they're raising debt, they're shorting the fiat to invest in Bitcoin. And of course, if you're a Bitcoin believer, if you view Bitcoin as one of the hardest assets on earth, like I do for you, you probably see Bitcoin as less risky than a lot of business acquisitions, for example. That's why we've seen the rules of issuing capital, issuing new debt. Usually when a stock issues a bunch of debt, the stock goes down. It's not necessarily true in the world of Bitcoin. So I'm very, very happy about that. Like I said in my prior videos, of course, gamma trading is a big reason why the convertible bonds are bought. A lot of people buy the converts because they want to short the stock at the same time and make money on the volatility. That's why I have an interest in MicroStrategy staying volatile. I want it to stay volatile. That's the main reason why we like the volatility in this stock. But some people just like the bonds. You know, some people just like the stock. Some people just like the bonds. If you look at a traditional 60-40 portfolio, 40% on bonds, there's people that are very comfortable owning some bonds. Why not sprinkle a little bond backed by Bitcoin? A bond backed by Bitcoin, not a bond backed by a promise to repay from a firm who's doing an acquisition or whatever. So that's the whole idea. And actually, if you look at convertible ETFs, so the biggest convertible bond ETF. I think it's nearly something like 3 billion in asset under management, which in the grand scheme of things is not that big, but big enough for our purpose of a video. One of the more prominent convertible bond ETF, you can see they have 4.5% of MicroStrategy bond. The most common bond in the iShares, so the BlackRock convertible bond ETF, the most common one is MicroStrategy. Now, MicroStrategy, in that structure, in that ETF structure, you have Bitcoin risk. If Bitcoin goes to zero, well, you're in trouble. You have Bitcoin risk, right? But, ask yourself all of these other bonds. Think about Rivian. 1.26% of the convertible bonds owned by the iShares ETF is Rivian, right? And so you have Rivian risk, right? You have Rivian bankruptcy risk, right? Think about Snowflake. Yeah, Snowflake has no competitor whatsoever, right? Databricks is not a competitor of Snowflake. No way. No, Snowflake is going to be just fine. The valuation is going to be just fine. All of these companies that have business risk, major business risk, major competitive risk, right? Uber Tech convertible bond, it's 1% of the iShares convertible bond ETF. Uber Technologies, what's going to happen if the robotaxis from Tesla catch on? That's a business risk, right? With MicroStrategy, what's the risk? It's the Bitcoin risk. And a lot of people are getting comfortable with that Bitcoin risk, especially Gen Z, especially younger people, especially people that get this asset. And so that's why bond investors may be likely to want some Bitcoin exposure. You can have a bond backed by Bitcoin. You can still stay within your ideology, within your mandate, within the rules of your investment plan by owning a bond, but the bond is backed by Bitcoin, backed by the risk of Bitcoin, which may or may not be higher or lower than, say, a firm doing an acquisition or competitive risks. But I love Bitcoin very much. So anyways, this is exactly what Saylor told us, where when he says you want people who want low volatility Bitcoin return, and you have people who want very high volatility Bitcoin return. And actually, if you look at the performance of, say, a convertible bond ETF, it hasn't been that bad. I mean, compared to the SPY, over the past 10 years, the SPY returned 13.5%. The convertible bond ETF from iShares was 9.4%. So it hasn't been that bad. It's a low volatility, lower return. Now, with that type of ETF coming out, you're going to have a lower volatility, lower return ETF available for people who are looking for that speed of capital, for people who don't want to get on the MicroStrategy roller coaster, on the MicroStrategy 2X roller coaster. Some people don't like that roller coaster, right? They're in their 60s, they're in 70s, they're conservative, they want Bitcoin, but they want low vol Bitcoin. And this is what an asset like the Strive Asset Management Bitcoin ETF is going to be able to provide. So I'm very excited about that. I think it's very positive development and positive news, and it's another layer of a financial system that is going to get exposure to Bitcoin via bonds issued by MSTR, via bonds issued by companies like Mara, by Bitcoin miners, etc. So I think this is a positive development, and right now MicroStrategy and Mara, in my view, they're trading pretty good, and they are looking attractive at this valuation. And what I'm doing, I share on Patreon, of course. But I've been adding to these companies recently, and I will keep adding, especially as it keeps going lower. So, anyways, I am on the road. This was a short video, no financial advice, not investment advice, just entertainment on this channel. I hope you are entertained and entertained only. This is a fun channel. This is not investment advice. Please like, please subscribe. Thank you for watching, and have a wonderful, wonderful day.